Hey guys, my name is Simpzy. How you all doing? Welcome fellas to the start of a brand new daily Total War Rome 2 Emperor Edition Let's Play as the Roman Republic. So, if you like the sound of that, feel free to leave the video a like and subscribe if you're new. I'd really much appreciate it. We're going to be using my realistic next-gen lighting, graphics, and reshade submod, along with an intro submod. We're going to be playing as the House of Julii. So, without further ado, let's play the intro, and I'll see you guys on the campaign map. Let's go.
Gods. I hate Gauls. My grandfather hated them too, even before they put out his eyes. Did you think I'd be out here on the frontier without good reason? Yes, Rome needs a strong frontier. No, Rome doesn't need unwashed barbarians at her gates. So, that's why I'm here, the leader of the Julii, to bring Roman order to stinking Gauls. Revenge? That'd be good too. This war against the Gauls won't last long. And when it's done, I've got plans. This is all about power. Power in Rome. Going down that road means dealing with all my rivals. The Senate, the Greeks, those Carthaginian elephant riders, the Scipii and the Brutii families too. After all, the man who controls Rome rules the world. And one day, I will be emperor.
You are at war with the Etruscan League. March north and capture their territories. This will allow you to consolidate Italia and ensure the safety of Rome. You must wage war if you hope to extend your dominion. Syracuse and Carthage own territory in Magna Graecia, so conflict with them is inevitable if you wish to expand across the Mediterranean. Otherwise, they may prove useful allies against Etruria or the Gaulish tribes to the north. Come what may, Rome will triumph.
Okay guys, welcome to the campaign map. Welcome to the early days of the Roman Republic. Look how good the campaign map looks. We've got a really nice colored sea, the lighting looks good, and the topography as well. So we're mostly playing on Emperor Edition for this campaign, along with a bunch of retextures. The armor looks vastly different as well. We've got a bunch of additional unit cards. Just thought I'd mix things up. Been playing a lot of DEI on the channel. However, we've been a little bit unlucky with save corruptions, and particularly that I've noticed sort of towards the end of a DEI campaign, the mod stability can be a little bit unreliable as well. We barely got through that Spartan campaign. But we're currently under the reign of Julius Lucius Libo, who is our dictator. He's got a nice wife here as well. Let's have a look at the other political families. So, we currently, as the House of Julia, hold 26% of the Senate, followed by the House of Cornelia, Junia, and the Papiria, I think that's how you say that, yes. Now, okay, looking at the RNG, thirst for power not good, same with populist, so we're going to have to manage these party traits. I've made the decision to go with Julia, as I think it's the best out of the three factions, as we get a morale bonus for fighting barbarians, particularly early on. That's so important in Rome too. We have increased cultural influence, and you actually get a really nice negative public order increase bonus when the province has our culture in it, so we're definitely going to need that. Because Cornelia, you have a public order hit. You also have, you do have a bonus with Hellenic factions, but we're more than likely going to be going to war with everyone. You get a nice little tax buff, and for the junior, from what I can remember, you get public order bonuses in agriculture, but you do get diplomatic penalties. So, to start things off, I think we'll try and deal with this war with the Etruscan League. We'll try and poison the military supplies of them, and then we'll march north. We currently have 4 units of Hastati, 2 units of Vilites, and then some levies here. So, let's fight this one. It's the first initial test battle, and I can't wait to show you the new updated models for this campaign. But let me know feedback and suggestions, where you want me to expand and conquer, as the Julii, we do have, of course, bonuses for going north against barbarian factions as we get additional bonuses. But, yeah, should we go east, south? There's a lot of ways. Or maybe we should let the campaign decide and where the story sort of leads us. If we get attacked by certain factions, it's going to be interesting to see where we end up. So a lot of these models, you're actually going to see that they're a lot similar to my DEI campaign, as I do use the same retexture and models as well. But I'm curious to see, now in 2022, how Emperor Edition holds up. And I'm also using Reshade as well with my own custom settings. So maybe I should do a video on that at some point. But it's going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to get to the stage where we have heavy infantry in our armies, because they're so strong. The Avati cohorts and the legionaries as well. Alright, so let's get stuck into the Etruscan League. We have to deal with securing the Italian peninsula firstly. We'll just have to see how well we do. But here is Julius Lucius Libo. And as you can see, like the mailed armor there, looks really astute. Same with the helms as well. So these are the same unit models with upgraded textures like you've seen in my other campaigns. But here are the unique shields as well of the Hastati as we look to go forward and get stuck into our first battle against the Etruscans with the nice warm Italian Etruscan the nice sun looking over the Etruscan warm fields as we march on up. Vilites on the left and right, Hastati in the center. So I think focusing on the Etruscans and trying to eliminate them as quickly as possible and their Italian allies is the play. We've got a black snake on their shield. That looks really quite cool. So we have to push up towards Arretium and Arinium. We will have to watch out for their companion cavalry, which are really quite strong in this game. And then we've got to deal with the Sardinia and Corsica situation that they have. So I think getting rid of them as quick as possible is the plan. Then going to Cisalpine Gaul, and then we have to deal with the political dilemma of a growing and large maritime empire, which is Carthage. And what's going to happen in Syracuse? Will they take over the entire island? Will Syracuse and Sicily call for aid with us? Or maybe we can ally with them. I don't know. That's what I always love with this Roman campaign. You never know what's going to happen. That's the sandbox experience with Total War and these historical Total Wars that I really love. We're also going to send off some diplomatic missions as well, because with the Emperor Edition, you do have the reworked political system as well. We also want to try and get some political marriages as well to bring in Brutii and Cornelii, which is essentially Scipii generals, into our family tree. And then we want to try and start off as the Roman Republic and eventually build on up to have the Roman Empire formed. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is quickly just try and form up with my Hastati, and I want to try and angle my Vilites, because in Rome too, the best way to crush and destroy units with skirmishes is to hit them on the sides and behind. I do believe technically if you hit a unit with skirmish fire from the side, I think it actually technically counts as a rear hit, which is incredibly important in this game. I'm also going to be using flaming Pila when we can as well, just to further decrease the enemy morale. I'm just going to move one unit of Hastati here on the right just to protect from that cavalry, as we do lack cavalry in this battle. So it looks like an Italian spear unit is going to charge on up. And look, we're probably taking too much fire there, so we're probably more than happy to charge. And we can, now that we've locked that Italian spear in place, we can swing some Hastati around as well. So fierce fighting is breaking out between our young boys. Look how lightly armored our Hastati are. They're so good in Rome too. Like, Rome is like an S tier faction, but I'm just sort of looking at our armor. We're still pretty early days in the Republic, so we haven't got the best quality soldiers at our disposal. Just young boys in loincloths, and then whatever sword and helmet and mail you can strap onto you. Brave Hastati boys. Forging the Empire at the start of every Rome campaign, but they don't last too long. Well, I guess some of them eventually become veterans. So let's drop an Inspire here as well. So we're currently surrounding the general unit. I'll send my cavalry unit up with Julius Lucius Libo. I will have to be a little bit careful with sending him in, because generals are a little bit squishy in this game, but we don't want to waste him sitting too far back. I want Julius Lucius Libo to have a strong, long line. Live to old age, but I want him to be a competent general. So it looks like the first initial test fight against the Etruscans is going to end in an over-resounding Roman victory, as the Equites run down the remaining Etruscan peasants here. Nice! Cut them down, lads. Oh, some poor guy got all bent up as he copped a hoof to the face, let's say. But let me know feedback and suggestions, tips and tricks. It's been a while since I've played an Emperor Edition campaign. I've been playing mostly DEI, but I thought I'd mix things up, so let me know people play Emperor Edition more so. But there are the brave Hastati, cheering, huzzah, Roma Invicta. We've done incredibly well in our first fight, picking up a decisive victory. Only losing 126, they deployed 360. And they literally ran around and did the 360 that entire fight and ran back from whence they came. Only 3 remaining in that initial fight, so we should be able to push up and take Arretium and Arrhenium now. But I'm going to be doing daily uploads of this series until we finish it. So the main objective is to form the Roman Empire at its height. That's what my achievement is. That's what I'm going to do. It's going to be a pretty big undertaking, but I feel like we're not going to finish it anytime soon unless we don't do daily uploads. So that's what I'm going to do. So stay tuned for more. Alrighty. But what I love is, like, where do we expand and conquer? Like, sometimes you get drawn into a war against the Gauls, or maybe go into Spain or Carthage. It just depends how belligerent some of the enemy factions are. Sometimes you can sort of ally and get quite friendly with the Gauls, or potentially the Carthaginians or the Greeks as well. Alright, so we've got a couple of ways to go down here. I'm trying to think where, because this tree is a lot different. It's been a while since I've played Emperor Edition. So we do obviously want movement. Campaign movement is huge. It's actually, that's far better even than a couple of melee buffs. But authority allows you to adopt more people in. But getting movement, being able to navigate throughout the Roman Peninsula quickly will be a must. Also, we've got Force March back. One of my main criticisms in DEI is that there's no force march. I know it tries to make it more realistic and sensible as you're slowly but surely moving your legions throughout the ancient world, but I sometimes feel like I really like force march. I think I like being able to whip your men up into a fluster and a flurry and try and pivot to a potential enemy incursion coming in from one of your borders is a must, particularly in Rome too. So let's get stuck into this siege, because we want to try and secure the Roman province in its entirety. So we've won our first initial skirmish on the outskirts against the Etruscans, and now we're going to try and take this small Italian town, which looks really quite cool. It's an interesting map. We've got a little bit of high ground here that we can use to our advantage, and then of course we've got the governor's palace in the town square. So I think what I want to do is trying to surround them from multiple vectors of attack, swing on in hard, make sure every single Hastati unit is accompanied by a Vilite/skirmisher unit, and if we're lucky, we're going to be able to take our first piece of territory for the Roman campaign. 75% in my favour as well. And I also want to try and get a large navy. That's on the plan as well. So once we deal with the Etruscans here in these first couple of battles, I will dive into construction, diplomacy, and where I sort of want to build up the Roman war machine. I think doing these initial battles first is better because we're going to be able to get a bunch of cash so we can allocate our construction and recruitment a bit better. Because if we're successful here today, we're going to be able to loot and sack and raid the city for some funds. But here it is. It's a pretty cool looking battle map. Look at this glorious Roman columns and architecture here. This is going to be a great and loyal city. So it's interesting to see that the Etruscans are actually going to try and take the initiative and stop this main Roman army group from moving on in. So I think we'll just sit here, be a little bit cool, calm and collected. We'll take the high ground. If they want to charge against us, we'll do so. I'm going to advance slightly down the hill. We will still have the high ground advantage if they do decide to charge, but I just want to move my skirmishers up so we can start getting some shots off and try and trade some skirmisher fire back. Right, let's advance further to the town square, because we might be able to surround them. But it's an interesting play here. It looks like they're going to try and crush this army group going forward, as the general tries to charge on in. They're trying to pepper us with skirmisher fire here. We do have some of our own Italian / Etruscan mercenaries, because it's not just Etruscans in this army. There would have been a lot of Italian / Samnite allies and mercenaries helping out the Etruscans. So we're going to be able to swing around here and maybe take the town square. But it's interesting that they've gone, okay, we're going to identify one army group that it's attacking, and we're going to throw absolutely everything we can to try and stop them. Quite brave. I like it that they're taking the initiative, because they know, well, look, we're outnumbered. 70%, potentially 80% in the enemy's favour. We've got to do something. We can't sit back and allow us to get surrounded. So we've charged on in. We're wrapping around with our cavalry, but we can use this to our advantage. We can take the town square, get the additional morale boost and leadership, and then we can swing around and try and pin them against our Hastati that have taken the high ground here. Alright, let's try and go for the Etruscan general. Can we get a nice peel of volley off? And we can! A venomous volley right at the Etruscan general. And look at this. We've taken a nice piece of Roman high ground. One at a time, lads. Oh, oh. They're holding incredibly well. Right, let's swing around now. We've got a couple of Hastati units sitting here idly by. So let's try and swing around and wrap around there. And we should be able to claim a pretty decent victory here against the Etruscans. Decisive victory. 85. We actually lost more in the open field last time around, facing less units than we did this time. But Septimus is no more. And we've taken our first piece of territory officially against the rebellious and defiant Etruscan League. So, once we secure the entire province of Roma, we're going to be able to start investing in the economy. I do want to try and get the next stage of Roman units. Principes, Triari, and I believe Equites, maybe some better quality cavalries on that line as well, so we definitely want to try and get those guys in. I don't particularly want to rush like legionaries too early on. I want to try and take it slow and make it a little bit realistic and invest in civic and public order and wealth bonuses as well. Okay, let's dive into diplomacy. So, we've got a couple of options. I think maybe trying to get trade with some of these Illyrian tribes occupying the coast. Does Athens want to trade potentially? I'm curious to see what happens in Greece. It's always a crazy battle royale. Who will dominate the Hellenic world? Will it be Epirus? Will it be the Macedonians, the Athenians, the Spartans? We've also got to watch out for Epirus, because they obviously don't like us due to the previous Pyrrhic wars against them. But so far, we can't seem to be getting any negotiations off, which is rather disappointing, as we don't have really access to that much valuable resources just yet. We do, of course, have a bunch of Roman olives. Why does no one in the ancient world want help with their digestion? Why not? We've put in the effort to go plant them all, because they take so long. I think they take 10-15 years to mature, like olive trees. But anyway, let's have a look at what we're working with. So yeah, legal institutions always good. Getting the tax rate, public order, and minus corruption really helps out a bit. Maybe going with supply reforms, because you can like rush. I think you can technically get like legionaries within like 20 turns or so. So I don't particularly want to do that. I think it's kind of weird. In the early days of the Republic, if you haven't got the entire peninsula under your control, and you've got like Germanic legions coming on in, so we'll try and make it a little bit realistic in that approach. Okay, my spy's gone up in stats as well. The way I use my spy is I like to use it to poison enemy armies and potentially assassinate generals. I don't often attach them to my armies. I prefer champions to do that. God, there's so much of a list, a wish list and a list we've got to do for this campaign, because I do want to try and get dignitaries in to get those additional taxes and bonuses as well. So, you can really craft your spy however you want. If you want more army experience, chuck her in. There's probably a strategy in that way to actually chuck her in your army, but I think we'll try and make her as a poisoner and a assassin, an assassino. Okay, so we've got a navy here. I could move it to Napoli, move it to Naples, Neapolis. But I think I might move it to Brindisium because there is a military port. We do have a secondary legion here. Technically, Legion 1 Italica is down on the border with Sicily, with Cornelius Scipio. We'll get a melee buff there. So let's have a look. Now that we've looted the settlement, we can spend some money. So Civic and Garrison. I like Civic. If you have a really hot and contested border territory, I would highly recommend Garrison. But I don't believe Rome is going to be ever attacked in this series. It can happen sometimes in a very rare chance, but quite often external territories are better off. We could go for industry to try and get some more money. But a public forum with public order is probably the best play. I do want to try and get a slave trader as well at some point. We want to try and get a booming trade economy there. And I think maybe a mine in the north. Military wharf, I've already got one in Brundisium. Potentially a harbour here in Naples will do. It's a shame we don't really have Ostia as a port, because that was such a huge and an important port in the Roman world. We are using the Emperor Edition maps. Oh, no, this is not the Emperor Edition map, so there will be slightly less territories, because the Imperator Augustus map is bigger, isn't it, technically, than the Roman vanilla. So I think like technically Sicily is smaller, and Magna Graecia, but I think without further ado, let's end the turn, see how the enemy AI reacts. And we've done well. So we've got to deal with them in Alalia off the coast, so they've really fled back there. Athens and Epirus are at war, so it looks like the battle royale in Greece that I mentioned is kicked off and underway. Well, let's move to Arretium with our spy. Doesn't seem to be too many military forces there. And we'll swing over the border and try and head there with Libo. We can get one unit of mercenary Italian cavalry, which I will do. And I think we'll move Cornelius Scipio just to the border here in Brundisium, in the boot of Italy, to quickly react to potentially an army coming from Epirus. You never know, the Athenians might push them back and they might have to come over here. Attacking Brundisium is always quite annoying. There are, of course, Spartan loyalists within the city from the free and independent former faction that held Brundisium, Taurus. Okay. Speaking of Brundisium. We do have a tier 2 military port, which is huge because we're going to be able to get most of our navy from there. But this is what we currently occupy. So it looks like Epirus is pushed into Larissa, the breadbasket of ancient Greece, which is quite huge. I want to try and get trade with some of these factions, but I don't know if it's going to be applicable. Oh no, would you believe it? Carthage has made the decision to cancel their non-aggression pact with me. Hopefully this isn't the side of things to come, but if you're Roman, some of us want to assault and head over there and raze and destroy Carthage to the ground, some with the Senate, and some fear the Carthaginians. I'm somewhere in the middle. Let's have them! But we don't want to go into war with them too early on. We want to try and focus on one faction at a time. We don't want to be divide and conquered. We don't want to be divide et impera ourselves, I guess. Alright, so there doesn't seem to be too much of an army here in Irinium. Look, it's 95% in our favour, so I will auto-resolve this one, but I do want to try and play a lot of these battles. So, let's loot. And now we have thrown the Etruscans out of the peninsula, and it looks like they've been sent to their new island home. And to be honest, I would nearly peace out with the Etruscans. I don't know if I even like holding Sardinia and Corsica overly too that much, as they're a little bit difficult to defend without a large navy at this period. And they do tend to get attacked by pirates and raiders, and they are easily attacked by a lot of Mediterranean factions. Anyway, we've unlocked an edict. I think going with bread and games, that's one of the most powerful factions, but I do want to try and get a booming slave economy and trade throughout the Italian world. So we're going to have to unlock that tech eventually to get a central city trader. But getting additional food is not too bad as well. Because the more food you have, the quicker you can rapidly build up your cities as well. So I think going with a tier 2 barracks is the play here now. As the Hastati are fine against certain factions like the Etruscans pretty early on. Like fighting an Italian rabble is fine. But once we start getting up against barbarian swordsmen, Iberian, maybe even Hellenic hoplites, we're definitely going to need Principes and Triarii in our army builds just to help us along the way. So Cisalpine Gaul is divided, so we could make a play there. So I'll keep an eye on the Etruscans. I would like peace with them. I just don't know if it's going to be applicable. But we'll try and keep relations amicably with the Greeks. Okay, let's dive back into our characters and in our family tree to try and do some political intrigue. Now, we could secure her promotion, Lucio's wife. However, we are struggling on the diplomacy front just to get those non-aggression pacts and trade agreements signed and over the line. So this is a really good way to increase diplomatic ratings with other factions, is sending your family members out on missions. So we've sent Lucio's wife to Athens to try and hope and cross our fingers and hope that we can get better quality relations with the Athenians. But depending on the diplomat, not every mission goes to plan. You can obviously increase relations, but you also can worsen them as well. And depending on what sort of happens, you can get them killed as well. Oh, a new political development. And it's good. So we've got increased public order. So it looks like the mission was a success. You never know what can happen in ancient Athens. She went over to party with what's his name, Alcibiades or whatever, testing and the Greek lifestyle at one of his famed parties, and she seemed to come back with good support. Oh, that's fantastic. Well, let's have a look at potentially starting another war and invasion. So I think we'll move the Legion North, Legion 2, with Lucius Julius Libo, and we'll start recruiting on the border as well. We can get 6 total Hastati if we want. I could try and mix that up with some Vilites. I could get rid of these levies, because they're not the best. Sure. and we'll be able to get more Hastati in. We've got the money at this stage now, securing the province. Just trying to get it perfect. So I think 6 is decent, then the rest making up the Hastati army build. Well, it's going to be a siege potentially, so maybe we need a bit more. Okay, I think I'm happy with that. So the province of Italia is fine. This army's a little bit of a waste sitting here, because I do want to try and make peace with the Etruscans, but if they refuse, we might have to move Scipio to Neapolis. Now, we can't get access to better quality ships sitting there, so we're going to have to move the navy to Brundisium, or within Brundisium waters, to get that recruitment. So let's move Cornelius Scipio north, as it looks like the Etruscans are turtling up. They actually abandoned Iridium, which was quite interesting. They're like, okay, the Italian peninsula is lost. We're going to make Fortress Illyria now, and building up the island of Corsica. A bunch of Hastati and Vilites has been complete, and we can go with another tech as well. We'll go down all the way through legal documents, labor, and legal institutions, I think. Still moving the fleet to Brundisium, and oh no, we can get construction of ships here, so we can get Onagers and Ballista. I think Ballista. They're quite expensive, but I really can't recommend, particularly in the vanilla version of Rome 2 and in Emperor Edition. Ballista ships are so important, because not only do they absolutely decimate enemy fleets on the open seas when you manually play, that they can be used when attacking coastal cities. It basically gives you early tier ballista if you can use them well. So I think we're going to declare war upon the Venetii, and we're going to do the classic Roman thing of using a casus belli to go to war with them. So we're currently negotiating here with the Dalmati to say, hey, you've been attacked by the Venetii in these various raiders. You could be an ally of Rome. And they're like, yeah, sure. Give us a payment and we'll send the Roman legion over. And then Lucius would be like the Senate that, hey, the Dalmati, our allies, are getting attacked by the Venetii. It'd be a sure shame if more raids were to happen. And the Senate's like, yeah, I think you're talking sense, Julius. And it looks like it's going to go through, and we get better quality relations with the Dalmati. I do want to move into Illyria at some point. It just depends when. And look at this, diplomatic mission to Athens as well. We've gone into the green. So can we get some of these deals over the line? Not quite. How about just straight trade? No. How about a non-aggression? Oh, how about a bit of payment actually? No. Okay. So maybe we just have to wait a little bit longer. But the mission was a success. So hopefully we can get more relations further up. Alright, great success. Alright, let's push into Patavium now with nearly a full legion. Oh, okay. About 80% in our favour. Well, let's fight this one against the Venetii. The Dalmati have called for aid. The Senate has signed it off. And we've used it as a casus belli to hopefully try and take our first piece of territory in Cisalpine Gaul. Like a good Julii would. A good Julius trying to take barbarian territory in Gaul. Cisalpine Gaul. I would imagine that means like minor Gaul. Potentially. I don't know what it is in Latin. Okay, well let's have a look at the deployment. So we could go with a triple axis formation. Manually do it. I'm trying to think. Can you? No, I don't know if you can do the shift click formation drag once you've set it in this. I know you can do it in Attila. Like maybe you have to do the formation attack, I don't know. But looking at the battlefield, this is a little bit harsh for it. This is currently pouring down with rain. The enemy seem to have a rather decent amount of high ground as well. We'll toggle things on guard mode, because we want to form up. This is going to be a tough battle, as it was meant to be a siege, but the enemy have made the decision to march out against us. So here is Lucius Julius Libo, revving up the boys. The gods have opened the skies, and our brave Hastati, with some limited chevrons and battle-hard experience for fighting the Etruscans, are absolutely drenched in the rain. But the Venetii have been quite smart here in taking the high ground, and this is our first war against the Barbarians. Just want to try and stop them from getting anywhere near our gates. Okay, looks like they're forming up here, so this is going to be a little bit tough one. We're going to have to try and dislodge the Barbarians from the top of this hill, if we can. So maybe moving up. Our cavalry will be the play. I think we just have to take a little bit of a slow approach in this one. You never know. If we can somehow take out a couple men, we might be able to initiate the attack. Because at the moment, it's an offensive battle that I started. They're defending. They've got the advantage. There is a couple ways you could do this. If you don't want to fight them on that hill, I could fully withdraw. But I think our cavalry here, mercenaries at the end of the day, might be able to beat the Gallic cavalry here. So we'll send them in. It just depends if any reinforcements come. So a small little skirmish between the Venetii, the barbarian Venetians, is going to kick off. Our mercenary Italian cavalry to try and run down those lights. They are moving some spearmen into quite close proximity, so we will have to be careful there. Give it a charge. Oh, there's been a decent volley there. It actually took out a fair few of them. These are mercenaries at the end of the day, this cavalry, so they are quite expendable. Okay, so they are moving slightly. So once we destroy this unit, if we can attack a missile unit, it might encourage the enemy forces to move off this hill. We've already slightly shuffled them. If not, I'm going to have to think of a plan to essentially move up the hill without going too far up so they get those high ground advantage. But we might have to. This is going to be a tough one. Pouring with rain as well. We're not going to be able to have flammable ammunition to help us out. So unfortunately, our cavalry didn't do too well there. They traded well with the light cavalry, but it was the volley that came in the end. Well, charging against these Celtic skirmishers, because it doesn't matter if we lose you. You're a mercenary unit. We're probably getting to the point where we have to disband you anyway. So just charge in. If you can just encourage an attack, like hit a couple and then try and swing back now. Yeah, go now. Give us chase. We might have a Battle of Hastings situation here. Attack them and try and draw them to us in a retreat, whether or not it's realistic or not. Okay, that's enough. So they are moving. Okay, it's fully got destroyed, which is annoying. So it doesn't look like they're going to be dislodged from there. We're going to have to move the full legion up. Take it slow, and we'll go and formation attack up with a triple axis formation. There's also simple axis. I don't know if I like the look of that. We've got double axis. I think going with the famed and renowned Roman triple axis formation will work well. It's not quite... some people call it the checkerboard formation, I guess. Doesn't quite look like that I've used in the past, but that'll be fine. Now, I think sitting at the bottom of the hill and try and skirmish them is the play. Because there's a fair few options with this. Look at that. That's a really big hill. They're going to get outstanding high ground advantage doing that. We should be able to beat them in hand-to-hand combat, but to be fair, you've got to really watch out for the Gallic, Celtic, essentially even the Spanish barbarian swordsmen as well, because that's some of their best units. They are really going to trade well, even one-on-one against a Roman Hastati unit. You add high ground into it, and we could lose. So some Total War players would see this and be like, hey, I don't even want to fuck with this, like pushing this hill. Most of them, you can withdraw. That is a legitimate strategy. But I think we'll take it slow, because we're not going to get the range here, which is rather unfortunate, as we don't have any archers in our army builds just yet. We're not going to be able to get archers until we either go into Greece or we get access to them a little bit later on. The Cretan and Syrian archers are some of the best in Rome too that you can get, and we don't have them in our auxiliary mercenary pool just yet. Okay. But we still want to try and get them to attack us at the end, so we'll move up here. We've only got 4 units of Vilites. In hindsight, when I was going on that recruitment blitz, I could have used 6. To be fair, I was surprised that the Venetii actually charged just here before. I thought that this would be more of a defensive siege, this army, because then we would have needed more Hastati. Okay, so already they're getting a bit of an advantage here. They're actually going to charge here, which is super interesting. So we're going to fall back. They're going to catch us there. I'm still getting used to how quick the units react in this, so we'll fall back down the hill. It does seem to have worked, so they are coming further down from the pinnacle of it. But they will get a charge advantage. Oh, they look lucky that volley hit us up and over the top. We're about to get things underway. It swung back to about a 50% on either side's favour. Potentially 55, either way. But it's a close one. The Barbarians have brought the crazy, windy and wild elements with them, as they've descended the hill and attacked us. Now, because we're using this split triple axis formation, we're actually going to be able to pivot around and free up some units. Because of those spaces, they've allowed us to be able to move the battlefield a bit. So we're going to be able to completely surround this Levy Spearman unit here, which is fantastic. And we can advance our Vilites, which have been a little bit battered looking at their units. And we'll give out some attack orders now. But fierce fighting is breaking out against the Barbs. And you got to give it to the Venetii. They've been quite smart in their approachment, taking the high ground, charging out. I would have thought that they would have defended, but it's actually quite realistic, funnily enough, how the Barbarians fight. They're not being cowards. They don't want to have a siege. The Gauls were always famed, particularly in Julius Caesar's exploits, of wanting to fight out on the open field with, like, historically Gallic and Gaulish barbarian armies would fight on the open field. 2 armies meet up as honor demanded it in their code, and they would charge on out. It was the Romans that brought sneak surprise attacks, let's say, especially early on in those wars. That's how Caesar did so well. But hopefully Lucius Julius Libo, his line will continue, and we will have our own dictator and emperor of Rome. Alright, so we're currently surrounding this Gallic swordsman here, and they are doing super well, those chosen swords. We've ascended the hill a bit, but look, it's not going to be an easy one. You got to give it to the Venetii. They are making us fight to the absolute bitter end for their territory. Hopefully Lucius Julius Libo hasn't bitten off more than what he can chew. And the balance of power has swung way more into the favour of the Roman Republic now. Look at this, man. It's those damn chosen swordsmen. They are still confident being surrounded by multiple sides. It's getting to the point now they're tying down 5 units and they're barely making a dent, only killing 40. We might be better just to break out and try and spam with skirmishes, because these early Hastati units just can't seem to break through chosen swordsmen. I told you how good some of them are. Particularly the mid/high/heavy Iberian barbarian units. Their swordsmen can really rival some of the Romans. To be fair, you would imagine that those chosen swordsmen are better than these Hastati. So, even surrounding them there, we can't seem to break through. So what we're going to do is we'll move our Hastati away. We've given the command to try and pepper them with Vilite peltasts. Alright, let's continue to advance. We're losing a little bit of line of sight in the fog of war. We've sent Julius Lucius Libo up. Let's try and give chase. Let's give some attack orders. We are inching further and further closer to a Roman victory. But it's going to be at a cost. But look at that. 4 units of peltasts hitting them from multiple sides. And the chosen swordsmen have lost 100. And their confidence and unit has been shattered and scattered to the wind. Absolutely fucking perfect, boys. You've done so well. And we'll allow some of them that have run out of ammunition. Draw your short swordsmen. Actually, all of them have lost. They've run out of their ammunition. Well, they can charge on in and get some short and close quarter short sword kills. Okay, so a couple of the start here, a little bit clustered, more so that I'm liking. So maybe just advance. That unit there's wavering, if anything. And we'll swing around with the Vilites. Okay, Libo's getting a little bit exhausted. And his unit's at half strength. The last thing we want after a really good performance here is to lose our faction leader. That would be an absolute disaster. In my Rhodes campaign, we lost the general in the first damn battle. Even though it was a good victory, it was just a little bit of unlucky RNG. Okay. And also playing Emperor Edition will actually allow me to do more episodes, more campaigns on these mods, because DEI, it essentially adds just longer elements to a campaign, whether or not that be buildings, replenishment and movement and stuff. So I just thought I'd mix things up. I love DEI, but I was more so curious to play Emperor Edition, just to see how it feels. Because I feel like my opinions on Total Wars have been just weirdly, like, I don't know if Rome 2 inherently Emperor Edition is a good game. Like, I want to know, I want to play it for myself, because I play so many damn mods. Like, I am an absolute mental person. I download, like, I can't be the only one that does this. I mod everything. Like, I think every game I mod to like 15 mods. So like, you barely play the base game at the point. And even now we're playing Emperor Edition, but I've added mostly graphical mods to this, and I'm curious to see how it's going to perform. But from my experience playing Imperator Augustus, playing as Octavian and Lucius on non-DI on Emperor Edition, that's a really fun and enjoyable experience, and I would seriously recommend it. And then if you want even a better experience, play DEI. If you got the time. But I feel like I play too many games. The thing is, like, if you're playing like DEI, Rome constantly, that's the only game you're playing. Alright, anyway, let's have a look at this victory. Wow, a close one against the Venetii. They really brought the thunder. They had a lot of advantages with them. Having the high ground. And we brought it to them, but we managed to inch on through. Check out this, couple hundred kills with the Hastati there. But the Chosen Swordsman, man, absolutely carried. Alright, a close victory. And we're going to be able to take Patavium, our first piece of territory in Cisalpine Gaul. So we've got a couple of options. I believe I would like to loot for the additional money. I believe we can deal with the public instability, but it's not going to matter as well. Even if we do have rebellions popping up here and there, it's not even that much of a bad thing, because we're going to be able to get military and army experience and level up our generals anyway. Some people don't even mind rebellions and like them, and sometimes force them just to be able to farm the extra experience, chevrons and points. So we want to try and do that to some extent, but not to an abusive level. Okay, let's have a look at some other territory in Cisalpine Gaul that we can hopefully potentially take. And I'm sure the Dalmate are incredibly happy with our military efforts. We've got more ballista on the way as well. We probably don't need to send them to Brundisium now. So instead of them moving during the end turn, what we'll do is we'll stop that and we'll get some ballista. I might even try a catapult unit back as well. And we'll replenish and repair. The Etruscans have really built up. So maybe in hindsight I should have just rushed them. But I believe they're already reasonably fortified. I think what I'll do is obviously they can't attack me from Roma, Arretium, and Irinium because there's no port for them to attack from. So the only way they would attack me is through Naples. So we're going to protect that with Scipio there. Massalia is at war. Oh, but this thing's kicked off. Carthage is at war with Syracuse. And the Dalmate are at war again as well. That's some huge, huge developments. Wars happening on our borders, left, right, and centre. But they broke our agreement. Our non-aggression pact, Carthage. So, maybe, now they're all with Syracuse, we could use this as an opportunity to back either one of those sides. I think we've got to finish off the Etruscans, though. And maybe secure Cisalpine Gaul. We'll see how we go. I want to move my navy up, because I feel like I can use it for a potential attack against the Etruscans. And, oh, we've also unlocked Triarii and Principe and some Equites as well. So let's get a couple of those bad boys in. And I think we'll be fine here. So I think I might send Cornelius Scipio against the Etruscans there. I might move... I could move you back to our territory. I just think the replenishment's quicker in our own lands. Slightly, like fractionally. Actually, I could... I think the fleet will be fine to protect Naples. And we'll move things north, because I want to try and give some of those Principes into Legion 2, which is essentially acting as Legion 1. I could get an additional army here. But I think we'll combine our two forces and see how we go. Lucius Cornelius Scipio, yeah. Because we could adopt him potentially. And then we've got Decimus Brutus as well. I want to try and grow. And intertwine our families in at some point. It's the best way to secure loyalty. We're still currently in the protection phase. So it's going to be a while before we potentially have a Roman civil war on our hands. But if we play it well, we might not ever have one. I still think you can get an RNG of having one or two, but it just sort of depends on traits. So let's move in Cornelius Scipio. Not the faction leader, because we can't bring him in, potentially, to the family tree. So you're actually better off going with the non-family member. Because you see the two here, you actually potentially can adopt those two on this secondary line. Which we could do. Same with our daughter as well. We could use her as a bargaining chip to bring the houses together. But at the moment, the Etruscans are really quite building up. it's going to take a lot to actually invade and attack their newly found island home now. Sparta and Macedon have broken their alliance. And there is a potential slave revolt about to happen in Italy, which is fine. We've got armies nearby and in proximity to do so. I want to try and get that trade, but we haven't got the money for it. We do have the building in Rome itself, but we will need to save up for it. Okay, so we'll send Libo to the coast, because that's where the army's going to go, and... oh, I've stuffed up here. Oh, I thought there'd be enough movement, but I think it kills it, doesn't it? Well, you're already in the water, so we've got to risk it. Damn it, I wanted to unite those two armies up, giving the Principes to Lucius's army. Oh, god damn it. Oh well, the navy's nearby anyway. Yeah, look at this, I've stuffed up. Even on force march, it's not going to do it. That's annoying. Well, text-wise, we'll continue down to legal institution. Oh, here's the Slave Uprising clip.
Breaking a man is easy. Breaking his spirit, less so. Even kept in darkness, a man may look to break his bonds, seek revenge.
Okay, so we've got to deal with that at the top of the turn, which will be a lot of fun. Oh, and they've attacked Rome. Would you believe it? I think I jinxed myself earlier in the campaign saying that Rome really got attacked as well. Well, look, you know what? Yeah, we're definitely going to have to fight this one. Oh, we'll live on a bit of a cliffhanger with Rome being besieged and surrounded by a huge slave revolt. Oh my god, we're going to have the siege and defense of Rome. Well, I think that's a perfect note to end things off. Thank you very much for watching. Hope you've enjoyed episode 1. Stay tuned for episode 2, coming out the exact same time tomorrow. We'll play this battle against the slavers. Then we've got to still deal with, well, we're the slavers. I guess they're the revoltists, technically. We've still got to deal with our war against the Etruscans as well. But still a lot of things to come in this campaign. Let me know where you'd like me to expand and conquer. I've had an absolute blast here today, and I hope you guys have as well. So anyway, take care. Without further ado, gotta play the outro, fellas. Unfortunately, it's time to end the video here. Thank you very much for watching. Check out my social media links in the description below if you want to stay connected with me. I also want to say thank you to this month's patrons and channel members: Victor K, Sebastian C, Jordan K, Caesar L, Brian S, Tao, Lion B, Kyle P, Tom C, and White P. My name has been Simpzy. Much love from Australia. I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.